Hey baby, where are we?
We are at La Chua Trail, which is part of a state park near Gainesville. And there's a reason why the University of Florida's mascot is the Gators. And it's, we're pretty much surrounded by them here, and they're all over campus. Once they get a certain size, they take them out and move them off into Paynes Prairie. And it's a wonderful place. This place in particular was on my bucket list. I actually didn't get here until right before leaving Gainesville.
Being here in Gainesville, since it is such an important city in Sarah's life, I figured today's episode is all about Sarah.
Part 2.
So baby, tell me about how you ended up in Florida.
Well, we lived in Minnesota growing up until I was about 11, and quite frankly, my family just wanted a fresh start in a much warmer place. And my dad had lived in Florida before, and my parents really liked the idea of having their honeymoon in Epcot Center. And so this is where we ended up. We went to South Florida, this little neighborhood actually of Coral Springs, because Coral Springs had a very good school system, which Florida is not known for. But this, public schools at that time were third in the nation in Minnesota, so they wanted to make sure that we had a good education in Coral Springs. And then I ended up coming up here to Gainesville, where I went to college. First with my bachelor's in health science and minor in Spanish, and then going to grad school as an occupational therapist.
So you were in Gainesville for a long time, right?
Way longer than I ever anticipated. I thought I would just, come to college and leave, and life happens, as they say.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was interesting. When I first came here, I guess you would say college is kind of where I came into my own. I was kind of a late bloomer, but very independent. And people thought it was strange at first. I wasn't really homesick at all. And they thought that something was...
Like you didn't miss Coral Springs?
Stay here. Well, to me, I knew my parents were just a bus ride away. I didn't have a car at that time, so just a bus ride away. It wasn't that big a deal. I was still close enough at home where I could go home, or I could call my family, and but I loved being in college and being able to do what I want when I want, which wasn't that crazy when you're going to school, really.
So Gainesville is known as like a party town.
It is.
And I imagine you probably partied quite a bit while you were living there.
My freshman year, I had a friend who was a bartender who would try out her drink concoctions on us and whatnot. But other than that, not so much. UF, prior to when I came, was really a party school, but then when I started, it was known as like the Princeton of the South. And
what? So they changed.
Yeah,
they changed
not
their
that they're
identity.
not still a party school, but the Princeton of the South, and it was actually quite difficult to get in. And by the time my sister graduated, yes.
Hello. So what happened?
And later, 2 years later, by the time my sister graduated from high school and wanted to go to UF, it was even more difficult. So, you get the best of both, I guess, in a way. And UF is great because it was a very bang for your buck kind of school. They have all these services, law services, and student health, and you could go to the gym and all these things and get a really good education at the same time.
And you stuck around after grad school?
I did. Well, I did a couple studies abroad, one to Spain and one to Argentina. So that was part of that. I was married at once, so that's part of the reason why I stuck around. I got divorced here. I had my first house here. I had a lot of friends here. I started dancing tango here, not in Argentina, but here in Little Gainesville, as they would say. And it's great, and it still is. I come back all the time for partially that reason and all my wonderful friends. Yeah.
Is that a nice doggy?
She's so cute.
Tonight I am headed to El Brazo de Gainesville, which is the milonga that Steve Littler and I started probably 7 or 8 years, I would guess. And basically, there were some ongoing milongas and we lost our space, and Steve and I kind of just stepped up to the plate and said, we need to find a new place for a milonga. We are lacking a milonga. So we started searching. We found a place in downtown, and now I get to go back with Brian and Alyssa.
Yes, are you ready?
Are you ready?